And the scene is set within the Black Orchid, within the Ventrue boardroom, sits John Stanshope, Prince of the City. He has invited 3 kindred to take a meeting with him today. The Harpy of the Malkavians, Megan Matlin, Alexander Crown, and a Mortimer Fitzgerald of Clan Toreador. The ghoul comes to meet them within the waiting area and ushers them into the boardroom.
Meg would follow the ghoul, and she had spent some time in the club below, as she recently met with Prince Stanshope on other matters. She nods to him as she enters the room, and are there seats set aside for? Is it just the table?
It's one of those typical sort of boardroom tables. There's like a long table and plenty of seats on either side, like they're cushioned sort of metal chairs. Feel very businesslike.
Is Stanshope already seated?
He is already seated. He nods and waves towards the table for you to sit down.
And Megan would, with purpose, pull out her chair and take a seat, and she nods and says, "Good evening again."
I hope you enjoyed the festivities. Keeping yourself busy.
I have, thank you very much.
Alexander Crown will wait for the lady to enter. Normally, Crown usually likes to be the last person in the room. So he enters, straightens his suit, and gives a nod to Prince Stanshope and takes a seat at his right.
Welcome, Mr. Crown. I've just received a message, he says, holding up his mobile phone, from Mr. Brehon. It appears that our third, Mr. Fitzgerald, is currently enthralled in his book. Prince shrugs. So I trust that I can ask both of you to keep him up to date on this little meeting and the tasks I set out for each of you. I understand the Toreador are quite enthralled by certain aspects of the art world.
She nods as she listens to him, and she says, "We will. I'll pass along the information. Absolutely."
Excellent. Well, without further ado, as I'm sure you're all aware, I am very keen on rebuilding this city. I'm very keen on rebuilding this city to get a firmer grasp of the structure that the kind inhabit. So therefore we may combat any external threats towards our organization in swift order. For this I am entasking groups of loyal members to form little independent coteries and giving them tasks about the city to strengthen the court. What I am asking for each of you, Miss Maitland, Mr. Crown, and finally... Sorry, did you have anything to say, my friend?
No, go ahead, my prince.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, is that we need a better early warning system than what we have at the moment. With the Camarilla in such disarray due to the lackluster approach by previous rulers, we have no way of telling where our enemies can enter or disappear from the city, who's coming in and who's coming out. This is why I'd like the three of you to concentrate on the transportation of this city. I would like you to garner allies, influence, contacts, whatever you can do, as a gift to the court, so that we may monitor our cities and know where kindred are going. Now, the beauty of this little social experiment is I am going to be watching each of the coteries and each of you very closely in how you approach particular matters. You each have different strengths and different aptitudes, different ways of dealing with problems, and how you work together will formulate, of course, your current plan. With transportation, there is so much of it in the city. From taxi drivers that have to log all the phone calls and have little computerized desks to see where each of their cabs are, to bus timetables, to shipping and rail dockets and cargo reserves from the docks themselves, as well as the highways from the many numerous stretches across the Americas, filtering in... Well, Mr. Fitzgerald. Deemed to join us, have you?
Sorry for my delay.
It's quite all right. Mr. Brehon let me know you were enthralled with your book, and he didn't seem to have a clue of how to break you out of its grip.
Yes, it is unfortunate when such a good session can interrupt business. I do sincerely apologize, my prince.
It is quite all right. I am very much aware of the Toreador's need for stimulation.
So, what have I missed?
Well, as I was explaining to your peers, Miss Maitland and Mr. Crown, I am currently working on the restoration of New Sarah. For this, I am entrusting coteries of loyal members of the Camarilla to form and focus on avenues of different areas within the city, to garner influence, allies, contacts, basically to gain control of a particular avenue of the city, to gift it to the court. The particular avenue I wish for you three to partake in is transportation. We need to know who's coming in and out of our city. We need to know what goods are being traded, where a particular kindred goes, the bus routes, the taxi firms, the shipping and cargo containers, everything that moves in and out of the city. The court needs to be aware and be able to push its influence in its defense swiftly.
I see.
Now, since there are so many coteries being formed at the moment, I thought it would be rather amusing to make it a little game. I always find that a competitive spirit always heightens a kindred's ability. So, the first coterie to be able to garner a sizable amount of influence and gift it to the court, that coterie will be given a boon by me, as well as the vast increase of status, being known as the most effective and resourceful coterie in the city.
This gets more interesting by the moment. A very fine challenge indeed, sire. As Mortimer looks absolutely fascinated by this premise of this competition.
Just so. Of course, those that trail behind or go last, well, they can be subject to ridicule of incompetent or squabbling kindred. But I'll leave that to the matter of the harpies rather than myself.
Megan nods and says, "There is always a catch."
if there is a winner, there is always a loser, Mr. Maitland. Are there any questions?
This seems very straightforward, my prince. I would, of course, like to get to know exactly who I'm going to be joining with in this coterie, of course. And I see they've gathered here. I do apologize. I don't know if we've been formally introduced yet. My name is Mortimer Fitzgerald of Clan Toreador. As he'll look to the others.
Megan will look over to Mortimer and nod, and she says, I'm Megan Maitland. I am Harpy for Clan Malkavian.
Oh. I do believe that you are the first Malkavian I've met in person in New Sarum. It is a delight to meet you, Megan, as he will extend his hand for a pleasant handshake.
Megan will look at him for a moment and kind of quickly take his hand and shake it and withdraw it.
He'll look a little puzzled by that, but then just shrug his shoulders and turn his attention once more to the prince.
John will turn his eyes towards Mr. Crown. Did you have accidentally snubbed him?
Yes, my prince.
At that, he'll sort of jump. He actually did not notice Mr. Crown. In this moment, he was so embarrassed about being late that he didn't do a proper perception check for the room. And he'll very embarrassingly try to be like, "Oh, terribly sorry, sir. I did not mean to cause any offense." Oh dear, I seem to
Crown
have...
will nod and extend his hand.
Mortimer will again shake his hand as politely as he can, still trying to hide his extreme embarrassment at making such a terrible social faux pas.
Crown, noticing his discomfort, gives a sly smile and he says, "Think nothing of it.
Oh, you are too
I
kind, sir.
apologize if I... Yes. I apologize if I slip in and out of talking and not talking, my prince. I have quite a bit on my mind. I do, however, have... He pulls out this little recording device. In case I miss something, I will have at least some information of this meeting. I do apologize."
That's quite all right, Mr. Crown. I understand you're a very busy man. Mr. Crown is a very resourceful member of my clan, and has been entrusted with many issues previously that, well, only his expertise can garner. I suspect he'll be a grand addition towards your little team. And although I have only met Miss Maitland and Mr. Fitzgerald ever so briefly, I have every confidence that you'll be able to pull off this little task with aplomb.
Another of the noble Clan Ventru. It is an honor, Mr. Crown.
And just to make sure we do everything... Shh, Skype. Do everything by the book. For admin approval. John will be rolling his leadership and charisma, which will be 7 dice. And because he is with the status rules and using his abilities as prince, he will gain +2 dice, -1 difficulty because he's eminent, and minus a further 2 difficulty because he has enchanting voice. So if any of you wish to resist his noble bearing and leadership qualities, you may roll against him. But for once,
You're joking, right?
but for once, I didn't get any ones. I'm in DC 3, and I have a specialty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 successes.
It's a done deal.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm very inspiring.
Yes, you are.
Indeed.
Megan would be looking
Crown
down.
has the tingles.
Megan would be looking down, and she's just to drum her fingers on the table, just a little bit, not to annoy anybody, but it's how she thinks, and she says, I may already have some ideas.
Excellent. Well, don't let me stop you young bloods brainstorming. I just look forward to the results. Unless there is anything you wish to ask me or request of me while I am still here.
None at the moment, my prince.
I understand the task at hand.
No.
Excellent. The prince stands up and nods to you.
Crown will stand and he will. Sorry. Produces a card and slides it to both Mr. Fitzgerald and Miss Maitland. Please feel free to contact me at my haven at any time if you have any questions or wish any assistance. I do have.
So we'll be talking to him later.
Well, a very generous invitation, Mr. Crown, and I think we'll end our scene there.